This happened last night, and I am incredibly annoyed. I'm a doctor, 34 female, and part of my job entails being on call for 1 to 3 nights a week, twice a month. My fiance, Dale, 30 male, has been saving with my stepson's mom to buy him a car for Christmas. My stepson, Rex, a teen, has a license already, but always has to borrow his mom's station wagon or his dad's beat-up pickup truck. His mom's car is, quote, lame and embarrassing, and his dad's can only hold 1 passenger, not practical for a teen. On to the main conflict. Rex texted me yesterday around 12, asking if he could borrow my car after school. His friends wanted to go to the mall, but the bus route was too long. Could they borrow my car? I texted back a sorry, but no, I'm on call again. Can you ask your mom? He says no. I told him sorry, but my answer was still no. I'm sure you'll find a solution. Ask your friends and you can all figure it out. If you see where this is going, you're less shocked than I am. I was up in my home office, the room where I keep my switch, sewing machine, and laptop, so not an official office, when I heard Rex and his friends downstairs after school. I was going to go see if they needed anything, but they left after a few minutes. An hour later, I went to the kitchen to clean up the empty bottles and wrappers from their snacks. I saw the empty spot where I left my keys, and I began to panic. First, I bolted to the door. My car was gone. In my head, I was jobless with an oncoming lawsuit. I must be ready to drop everything, change into my scrubs, and be out of the house within minutes. If I'm on call and don't respond, then someone might die. I immediately dialed my stepson. He picks up, and it's obvious he's in a mall store that plays loud music. I told him to get his butt home now, and he laughed and said that I wasn't his mom. He'll be home whenever he pleases. I'm not proud, but I told him that he had 20 minutes to get home, or I called the police and reported stolen. Rex panicked and said he couldn't find all his friends and get home in 20 minutes. Told him tough crap. 10 minutes later, I get a text that he's in the mall parking lot and will be home soon. I phoned Rex's mom and informed her of his stunt. She was madder than me when I told her I was on call. She apologized and promised to talk to Rex and Dale ASAP. Rex came in, threw me my keys, and locked himself in his room. Dale finally came home around 8 and said he had been on the phone with his ex. He demanded to know why I punished his son. I put my foot down and explained I was on call, which meant I needed my car. Rex stole my car. Dale disagrees. His ex agreed with me and decided she wouldn't be buying Rex a car anytime soon due to his entitlement. Dale thinks that I'm making a big deal out of nothing. I didn't go to work, so why did I have to threaten Rex? I've only gone in twice this year while on call. Just because nothing happens doesn't mean that I'm always clear. Rex is now grounded. My fiance is barely speaking to me. Asked me when I'm going in today. I'm not, and if I'll apologize. I'm not budging, and I'm still angry that he doesn't get it. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Your stepson is entitled because he did steal your car. He had another option, but it wasn't cool enough, and he thinks so little of you, it wasn't even of consequence in his mind to take your car and throw the keys at you afterward. The threat of calling the cops was a perfect response, because it seemed to be the first time he was shown that his actions had consequences. Rex owes you an apology, not the other way around. Dale is completely off base if he thinks his son did nothing wrong and that OP should apologize. Even the ex thinks he's being 100% unreasonable. What would OP even be apologizing for? OP's fiance is telling his son that he co-signs on his theft and disrespect of OP. Or worse, he wrecked the car and was critically injured. OP got called in to treat someone, stepson, in a wreck, but couldn't get there in time to save him due to not having a car. Dale would then be dealing with arranging a funeral instead of a badly behaved, angry teen. What on earth? Your fiance is a walking red flag. He's a terrible parent, and he doesn't even realize it. Stealing a car is a big deal. This is not a gray area. No offense, but you're a doctor. You have your crap together. You can do better than a man who expects you to apologize when his son commits a felony. Update. Am I the idiot for giving my stepson a 20-minute time limit to return my car before I phoned the police? So apparently Dale read this on his work breaks. A short time later, I first received a call from Rex's mom, who said that Dale had called her husband and ranted about how I made him look bad online. She told him that she didn't care because he didn't react the way a good parent should. Dale was so furious that he told her he would call his mother to see if anyone cared about his feelings. Dale's mother handed his crap back to him. Good. She reiterated to Dale that he wasn't actively a part of his son's life until he was 6, so he had no leg to stand on. Dale tried to complain about how unfair everyone was. She shut him up and told him that his son had done something wrong, and this was not about punishing him for being a bad father. Dale returned home a little while ago, about an hour earlier than usual. He looked defeated, but he was still short with me. He said he was disappointed that I posted, and now everyone who knows will think he's a joke and a bad father. I didn't think this conversation would end up with my ending the engagement and relationship, but I did. The house is all in my name, so Dale is packing up his crap and crawling back to his mom's house. The wedding wasn't set, so no time or money was lost. Dale said so many things that I didn't even want to write down. This is not the man I've known for 4 years, and I'm honestly shocked at how selfish he is. He said my doctor's money would have to buy Rex a car and make up for all the hard feelings. Again, I'm astonished at how delusional he is. Also, the fact that he wasn't in Rex's life till he was 6 was a huge red flag. He never mentioned it and refused to admit that it was a big deal during our argument when he came home. I'm done with this BS. Jesus, hugs, OP. Sorry for something so important to end over something so stupid and ridiculous. At least it showed you before you were too committed to what you were getting into. Sadly, however, people like Dale seem to have too much influence on their son's life and end up making someone with the same mindset as them. I truly hope Rex doesn't carry this mindset, but only time will tell. The universe did OP a massive favor here, as there were a few indications that she saw Dale through rose-colored glasses. I'm also glad the kid's mother is free of him. This guy's a real piece of work. Shocking that he can't hold down a relationship. Hey, Dale, I assume you'll read this. Are you serious right now? What kind of a milquetoast wimp is afraid to stand up to a teenager when they are a minor, literally committing a felony? Stop being your delinquent son's bestie and try to act like a father, or at least an adult. I'm so glad she ditched you. You deserve it completely. Context. My ex-husband and I have custody of our son, Tween. He's diabetic, and since his diagnosis is relatively new, we're still working on managing things for him to continue living a normal life like other kids. My now husband, his stepdad, is responsible for dropping him off and picking him up from school, since my son's step-siblings, young teen and tween, attend the same school. The issue began when my son asked his bio dad, or me, to take him to school instead of his stepdad. He said the reason for that is because his step-siblings open his lunchbox and take all the additional snacks that he needs in case he has a hypoglycemic episode. That's what we call low blood sugar. His step-siblings would take his lunchbox from him, take the snacks, and only leave him with his sandwich and water. His stepdad thinks that there's nothing wrong with sharing, although I explained how important his snacks are a million times. He promised he won't let his kids touch my son's lunchbox from now on, and I believed him. Days ago, my son came home and told me that his step-siblings had taken his snacks from his lunchbox again. I was enraged. I asked if his stepdad saw them, and he said yes, and he scolded him when he refused to let them have the snacks. I lost it. I blew up at my husband and told him my son wouldn't be riding in his car again with his step-siblings after what they'd done and after he allowed it. I told him that my son's father would be driving him to and from school. He lashed out at me, saying that I was driving a wedge between the kids and teaching my son to grow up selfish, self-centered, and antisocial, and also making my son distant from him and getting him to favor his bio dad. I refused to discuss it, and now he's acting all hurt and disrespected, saying it wasn't worth ruining the kids' relationship over some snacks. Edited. He argues that I don't get his kids the same amount of snacks that I get for my son. They go through their snacks in no time. In my defense, I said that the snacks are part of my son's diabetes management routine, and he, unlike his step-siblings, needs them anytime. And so I don't feel obligated or that I should buy his step-siblings the same amount of snacks, seeing that they can do without them for a while. Am I making sense here? OMG, obviously this man gives zero crap about your son's health. Not the idiot. For your main point of not letting your husband drive your son anymore, I'd really be reconsidering your relationship though. This is a dangerous position to put your son in. He could have serious health consequences. Also, if I were your ex, I'd probably be talking to my lawyer about this sort of thing. Your household doesn't sound medically safe for your son. Let me get this straight. Your son's health is being put at severe risk because of his entire step-family, and you think the problem is solved by his dad taking him to and from school now? Nothing else to be done to protect your son from them? Why have you invited this man into your son's life? For love? Honey, those snacks are a medical necessity. You can call them snacks, but they're emergency tools. You are the idiot, and I wonder what other red flags you ignore from your husband. Annie, 27 female, and I, 27 male, have been best friends since junior high. We had different social circles even though we tried to include each other. Annie was part of the popular crowd and has kept these same friends till today. I grew up severely overweight. I was heavy all through high school and college. I was lucky enough to have Annie as my friend, so I was always included in things. I was always the tag-along. Annie's friends mostly acted like I wasn't there. I'm still around her friends regularly now. About 6 months ago, I made a lifestyle change. I was stirred by being fat and getting turned down because of it. I've now lost about 75 pounds and feel incredible. Annie has been my biggest supporter and was my gym buddy. I haven't seen her friends since January because I was in gym mode, but Annie decided to host a party at her new place. I was invited, but I didn't want to go. I explained to her how I didn't want to have a connection with the people who knew me when I was fat. I wanted a clean slate, but she insisted, so I did go. So I posted a gym selfie, unlike me, and one of Annie's friends, Claire, slid into my DMs, and she said, "Wow, you look so different. Congrats, how did you do it?" I explained a few tips, and then she asked for my Snapchat. I sent the emoji and never responded again. I show up at Annie's and suddenly, I felt like the new kid in school. All her friends who previously never acknowledged me wanted to talk. It made me angry. One said, "Oh, P, I had no idea you knew so much about cooking." I said, "You would have if you took the time to get to know me in the last decade," and walked off to meet Annie. As I was talking to Annie, the friend that DM'd me walked up. She said I looked great and asked me why I never gave her my Snapchat. I said because I don't deal with shallow people, and she knew me for a decade and didn't want my Snap, so that's why I laughed. She excused herself and Annie followed her. I waited outside and Annie came back furious, saying she talked to her friends and they all felt embarrassed. I said they should be because they are shallow. Annie got all offended and said I'm being an idiot. I said she's far too good of a person to have these types of friends, and she should be embarrassed. She asked what I meant. I said she has shallow friends who treated her best friend like a ghost for a decade, but now I'm supposed to give them my attention? That she's a crappy friend to me to have kept those friends. She started crying and said something about how I used to have the best personality, but now I'm an idiot. I said maybe I am, but better than being part of a shallow friend group. And I left the party. Annie's sister, who I'm close to, called me today, saying that Annie was upset and felt like she had lost her best friend. But I said some crappy stuff and I need to apologize. Am I the idiot? Oof, you are the idiot for telling her she's a crappy friend when she's personally been good to you all these years, as you said. Also, it sounds like you went to this party to be an idiot to everyone. You shouldn't have agreed to go to the party if you were going to be rude to everyone there. It's okay if you don't like these people and don't want to be their friend, but you chose to go, and you couldn't even act civil for the sake of your best friend? You're carrying around this resentment and anger for a decade, and now actively choosing to ruin your friend's party. Yes, they seem shallow, but I don't think you're behaving much better. You're in your late 20s. High school was nearly a decade ago. Instead of getting revenge for your high school years, perhaps you should focus on your future. I'm going with not the idiot. It would be best if you had spoken up a long time ago before these feelings festered into you, lashing out as you did. For that, you should apologize to Annie. She's been good to you and has always included you. On the other hand, you have every right to feel this way about this group. You don't need these types of people in your life. So I don't feel sorry for them for your reaction, and I don't think they deserve to have a friendship with you. I would say you are the idiot. It sounds like OP has a chip on his shoulder and is attacking people who weren't ever mean to him. OP wasn't their friend, Annie was. While the wider group may not have been super interested in their friend's friend, aka OP, in the past they don't sound like they were rude or mistreated OP. On the other hand, OP paints a picture of being rather unpleasant and openly hostile to be around in the present. So I, 25 female, have lived in my house my entire life. My parents moved and gave it to me when I turned 21. Ever since I was born, we've had roses in our yard. Well, recently I got a new neighbor, 31 female, and she's apparently allergic to my roses. Unfortunately, she lives right next door and won't stop complaining about my roses. I don't want to get rid of them. She should have considered that I had rose plants when she first bought the house. It's not like it was the cheapest option or anything. I live in a pretty expensive neighborhood. A few days ago, I came home from work and found pieces of my rose bush on the ground. At first, I thought nothing of it, but it kept happening. I decided to get a camera in my front yard to see what was happening. I came home yesterday and checked the cameras, and there she is. Clear as day, you could see my neighbor, wearing some mask, chopping away at my bushes. I was outraged when I saw the footage and went up to her door and threatened to call the police if I saw her do it again. She called me selfish and rude, and that I should have taken the roses out because she's allergic. I'm not getting rid of my roses. I don't believe that it's my fault she's allergic and chose to buy a house next to someone who grows roses. She says she could get hurt, but I don't think it's my problem. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Call the cops, don't wait. Get it documented before something else happens, like her pouring poison or something on them. She trespassed and damaged your property, which she can stay off of to avoid her BS allergen. I have never heard of an airborne rose allergy. Roses don't release pollen into the air and are considered more or less hyperallergenic for most people. People who handle rose plants very frequently can develop contact dermatitis. But if this is what the neighbor has, she shouldn't be touching the roses. This is correct. Your neighbor is nuts. Someone I know is allergic to mimosas. And guess what? Before buying a house, she did her homework and checked if the enemy was lurking around. The new neighbor could see that there were roses close to her prospective house and yet decided to live here. And anyway, a neighborhood with gardens is likely to have roses. So is she going to play the mad gardener and wreak havoc in all of her neighbors' gardens? Big not the idiot. And like everyone said, involve the authorities because she won't stop here.